So welcome back. There are usually plenty of ways to kill a weak case as we look live at Mar-a-Lago. And joining us now are former U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C., former prosecutor, I believe, and Newsmax contributor Joe diGenova. Sorry about that, Joe. They left a line out of there. He was a prosecutor in D.C., I knew that, and defense attorney Ken Belkin. And Joe, we're going to start with you. You've got a weak case here. What's the fastest avenue to get rid of it?
Well, the statute of limitations here is a big issue because this has been bootstrapped into oblivion. Yeah. The change of venue has to be asked for just to preserve it. I doubt that the judge would grant it, but you have to preserve it. I think there's something else that happened actually today, and that was the prosecutor's press conference. That was one of the most disgraceful abuses of pretrial publicity I have ever seen. He violated every ABA standard on pretrial statements by a prosecutor. Then there should be a motion filed asking that he be sanctioned and that the case be dismissed.
I mean, and Joe, let's stick with that for a second, because everybody watched that press conference. I mean, every single channel was on that thing. It was breaking news all over. He poisoned the jury pool even further.
That's exactly right. And that was his purpose.
Right.
The intention with that type of news conference is to harm the defendant, to present facts which predispose the jury to convict the defendant. It was a disgraceful performance by a prosecutor. I'm shocked.
And right after they had warned the former, they didn't give him the gag order, but they had warned him not to talk about the case. And then this clown, Bragg, comes out and does that, just showing how incompetent he really is. Ken, what do you say is the weakest part of this case? How long do you think it'll be before this thing will be thrown out?
Well, I mean, talk about pre-trial statements, pre-election statements were being made by Bragg while he was campaigning about how he was going to set his sights on Trump.
Right.
The reality is, how far will this go? Well, I think I say this with bated breath. If we have a judge that follows the law, I think this should be dismissed pursuant to the statute of limitations. I know they're trying to squeak by on the fact that during COVID, Governor Cuomo extended them, but I don't think that should stand in any event.
Yeah, that's something else. And Ken, I mean, I'll ask both of you guys, and I'll start with Ken. The chances, even in New York, as political as New York is, the chances this thing actually makes it to trial. Ken, start with you.
The problem is, I think if it were any other defendant, other than Donald Trump, he would be afforded some sort of conditional dismissal. That's sort of the plea parameters in the Manhattan DA's office. I know this. I think because it's Trump, he's probably not going to accept any disposition. And I don't know if Bragg is going to be willing to offer him anything that anyone would really want to take. So yeah. I think there's a high likelihood this goes to trial, but they really need to change the venue. I doubt that Donald Trump can get a fair trial in Manhattan.
Joe, you don't think there's any way to get this thing tossed before trial?
It's going to be very difficult unless this is a very brave judge who doesn't mind not having lunch in this city anymore after he rules in Trump's favor.
And you know what? It's exactly the opposite. He wants to be a hero, and that's really unfortunate news. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Ken, you better take that call. Good to see you guys.
Thanks, Rob.
All right.